colorful tonight.
So today I'm going to talk to you about our poop. It's not very sexy, but it is, there's another name for it, which is the microbiome. So how many people know how many bacteria, how many bugs you have in our gut? Do you have any idea? Is there any, like 1,000 bugs, 2,000 bugs? Can you tell me a number?
I'm going to guess 100 million.
100 million. Do we have any other number?
I think we're in billions, trillions maybe.
Trillions. So there are 100 trillion bugs in our gut. Now, do you know how many species, different species of bugs
Yeah,
there
that's my
are?
next question. I'll say 2,000 species.
2,000 species. Do we have any other number?
4,000.
4,000. Well, there are more than 150,000 species
Wow.
in our gut.
Wow.
150?
150,000 species of gut bacteria. So we are, really, our DNA is not only our DNA, but it's also 100 times our DNA, because it's the DNA of that many bugs also. So in reality, we are joyful hosts of a lot of bacteria, and we need to keep them in balance. Very important. What could put them off balance? Do you have any idea?
Antibiotics.
Antibiotics could put them off balance.
Too much sugar.
Too much sugar.
Too much sugar would put them off balance.
Dehydration.
Dehydration.
And diarrhea.
Allergies and
Bad diet.
Absolutely. And also stress. Stress could put them off balance. And how would stress put them off balance? What does stress do on the stomach? It makes the stomach secrete more acid. It makes the gallbladder secrete more bile. And this acidity is too much for the amount of food that is going to arrive in the stomach. And it's going to arrive in the gut and destroy a lot of good bacteria. So not too much stress, not too much sugar, because of the same thing. There will be a growth of bad bacteria, and not too much antibiotics also. We'll talk about this a little bit later. And what can we do to help our gut bacteria? What can we eat? We can eat yogurt that has a lot of probiotics, and that will help a lot with the digestion. Now, can we use the good gut bacteria? Like if we have a lot of balanced good bacteria, can we use this into treating other people? That's a good question.
Yes.
Yes. And when did that start? That started in the 4th century by Chinese medical doctor, Dr. Hong, who gave people that had diarrhea a treatment which was a yellow soup. What was yellow soup? Was there any good pepper in yellow soup? No. Any lemon juice? No. There was poop of somebody healthy, a very healthy person. That with a healthy person's poop, he would make a broth, and then people would drink the broth, and then they would be much healthier, and the diarrhea would resolve.
Take that off the video.
Now, afterwards, recently, because of too much antibiotics, some people have acute sinusitis, a chronic sinusitis, and they have to take antibiotics 3 weeks in a row, sometimes 4 weeks in a row, sometimes even more. They will get a secondary infection because yes, the bad bug will be killed with the antibiotic, but also some good bugs will be killed also, and they will Clostridium difficile, C. diff, that will grow, will start growing. And how do we treat that? We give even more antibiotics, different antibiotics. Unfortunately, that's going to kill even more bugs, and it's going to give an even more imbalance. And very soon afterwards, some people will come with recurrent C. difficile infections. How do we treat this? Now there is no more antibiotics that will be able to treat this. So we're stuck. But some physicians have tried fecal transplant. So if you're very healthy, and if you have a really balanced microbiome, you can give your stools so that they can be used for fecal transplants. And this way, 80 to 90% of the infection, the C. difficile infection, will be able to be resolved with that C. difficile transplant. So it's going to be very effective. Can fecal transplant cure other problems? It's very possible. So 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Dr. Sabine Hazen, who is a gastroenterologist who does clinical trials in Ventura. And she studies the microbiome of people with autism, you were talking about autism, or Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, chronic fatigue syndrome, but also obesity and high cholesterol. And she finds that those people with those certain diseases have specific microbiome that are different than other people. She also finds that in some families, there are different microbiomes. That there will be one family right there with a certain kind of microbiome that will be similar, that the husband, the wife, and the kids will have a similar kind of microbiome. And another family will have completely different microbiomes, but very similar to within themselves. Why is that? Could be because there's genetics between the mother and the kids, or the father and the kids, but what about between husband and wife? Well, they do kiss, they have sex, they drink the same kind of water, so that can explain the same kind of microbiome.
And also mother's nurse.
And also mother's nurse, yes, absolutely. So we are thinking that maybe there's something in the poop, something that could be the future, a joyful future, maybe. And we are thinking that maybe what if we could transplant somebody's microbiota, or somebody who is thin, into the gut of somebody who is obese, and maybe the person will lose weight. That would be a great way to do this. Has there been any study of that? Well, there has not been any study with humans. There have been studies with rats. And we found that in rats, when we transplant the microbiome of a thin rat into the gut of an obese rat, the fecal, what is the microbiota of the obese rat becomes much more like the one of the thin rat. So there is hope in there, but we need a lot more studies to manage to do this and to calculate. So the bottom line is, if we don't want to need a fecal transplant, it's very important that we eat very healthy. It's very important that we don't eat too much. It's very important that we don't eat too much sugar. And that we read every single ingredient that is on everything that we buy. Because very often there is hidden sugar. Like in cereal, there is a lot of different sugars. There are very few cereals that have no sugar. And there is also processed food. It's very important not to eat very much processed food that has a lot of preservatives that are not healthy. And it's important to make sure you eat a little bit of yogurt or kefir, and make sure also that you buy a yogurt or kefir that has no sugar added. Again, read all the ingredients, because very often when you read the ingredients, it does not say unsweetened, it's usually that it has sugar. So I recommend that you don't buy anything with sugar. Because we are hosts, again, and we need to take good care of our bacteria because they reside inside of us and they need to be kept in balance. After all, the future might be in our poop.